What is up, guys? The Cack Attack is here. Oof, that's cringy. Thank you guys so much for stopping by, and today I wanted to discuss what I believe is a fairly significant problem within Destiny 2, and fixing this problem would go a long way to improve the game. Now, just before we get started on that, I'm giving away a pair of ASTRO A40s thanks to my partnership with ASTRO. If you want to enter, this is normally where I inflate the numbers by telling you to like and subscribe. If you want to do that, go ahead. But nope, head over to my Twitter. Make sure you're following me at @RickKackis. Tweet at me something with hashtag, you know what, hashtag CackAttack. Just doing that, you're entered to win, and there you go. By the way, if you don't win, but you still want some headphones, check the description down below. There's a link where if you click it, it automatically applies a code, allowing you to save money on any ASTRO product. Alright, now, what's this big problem? Well, frankly, in Destiny 2, there's nothing to do right now. Like, there really is not much going on. There's an Iron Banner starting tomorrow, but, you know, if you already got the Swarm of the Raven with the God roll, and you already got the good Iron Banner weapons, it's something you're just not going to be interested in. It definitely kind of hurts the game that Shadowkeep was extended, in the sense that there's going to be longer now where nothing is really planned. Now, with that being said, I don't disparage Bungie for delaying Shadowkeep, that expansion, by any means. That was absolutely the right decision for them to do, but it doesn't change the fact that there just really isn't a lot going on in the game. Now, what can be done to fix that? Well, I truly believe something that would spice up the game every single week is to improve the vendors. The vendors right now in Destiny 2 are absolute trash. They just are not doing anything interesting, anything too important. You go to them to pick up some bounties, but that is really about it. And it's a huge difference from the vendors in Destiny 1. They were an interesting, dynamic thing that happened every week because of vendor resets and vendor possible roles. Now, here's what I mean by that. And of course, there's a lot of people watching who didn't even touch Destiny 1 and have no idea how much they're missing in terms of vendors. So let's take a look at one. Lord Shaxx, absolute mad lad, love his voice lines, but you look at his inventory and there's nothing really going on. Again, it's those bounties, it's some random emblems and some shaders, and that's kind of about it. There's really nothing going on here. Let's take a look at Shaxx in Destiny 1. This isn't old footage, this is actually very recently. Destiny 1's still kicking. You may want to hop on every once in a while, it's a pretty sweet game to play, but Destiny 1 Shaxx, well, he's actually got some interesting things for sale in terms of armor rolls. Now, this is something that frankly is kind of a missed opportunity already. I mean, the Lord Shaxx right here, he's selling different pieces of armor, and they're going to have, you know, different perks, different roles in terms of intellect and or discipline and or strength, which now is kind of a possibility with Armor 2.0. Should vendors potentially sell armor rolls, and then you could try to look for those absolute god rolls, that would be kind of cool. Now, of course, with Armor 2.0, the problem is that, I mean, you don't really have perks per se. You are just getting random quote-unquote rolls from intellect, discipline, and strength. Like, the only thing you're kind of looking for in Armor 2.0 is armor with high stat rolls. So this doesn't make a lot of sense to implement right now. This is something that arguably should have been implemented with the normal armor system. Like, it would be a cool week. Hey, guys, Lord Shaxx is selling armor with Shotgun Scavenger. If you know, pick it up if you need it. Why didn't we have that system? But that's beside the point. Lord Shaxx is not what I'm interested in. There is a whole nother vendor. They had to add an entirely other vendor, the Crucible Quartermaster, just to handle how much inventory the old D1 vendors were actually moving. Because we checked the Crucible Quartermaster, look at all these weapons available for sale. There is 10 different weapons on sale just with this one vendor, and every single week to this day, the inventory resets and they all have different random rolls. When I went there, we have this 44 curtain call shotgun, actually a pretty decent roll, reinforced barrel and rangefinder and knee pads for further sliding. Like, that's like legitimately not even that bad. That's a pretty decent PvP shotgun roll if you don't have anything better. And the benefit of vendors like this that are selling all these different weapons that reset every week is that every single week you have a buzz within the community. Every single week you got people checking the different random rolls. You've got videos going up from the Crucible people testing out, the supposed god rolls each week. When there is an absolute god roll of like a really good weapon, you have everyone logging on and getting it, and then you see usage numbers spike for like that week and stuff. It's a super fun, energetic thing within the community, and it's something that's just gone away in Destiny 2. There's more weapons being sold just with this one vendor than there are like in Destiny 2 in its entirety in terms of guns that have those resetting rolls. And it's not just the Crucible Quartermaster. Let's go over and check the Vanguard Quartermaster. Well, he's got another decent shotgun, the Occam's Razor. That's more of a PvE shotgun, and it rolls with crowd control, basically Rampage. That's actually a pretty decent roll right there. For PvE at least. And hold on. Check out this 7th Sense sniper rifle. We've got the Ambush Sight, one of the lowest zooms, best scopes you can get. And we've got Triple Tap, and Life Support if you want, and Snapshot for faster ADS, and Hidden Hand for more aim assist? Yo, this is like a god roll. Ambush, Triple Tap, Snapshot Sights, Hidden Hand? That's insane. That's super, super powerful. Bruh, or I should say, bruh, if this sniper rifle was being sold in Destiny 2, there would actually be like a buzz within the community. People would be tweeting out, yo, buy this sniper rifle. This is actually a super good roll. Check out this sniper. Again, like none of these events kind of happen in Destiny 1, and it's very, very unfortunate. And again, we've got 10 different weapons on sale with the Vanguard Quartermaster. And if we go and check the current Destiny 2 Vanguard vendor, good old Zavala, as you can see, like nothing, dude, nothing going on here. Now, yes, he does sell a service revolver, like one weapon if you reach a certain rank within Vanguard, but like that's just not good enough. But on top of all of that, we have the somewhat tricky issue of faction vendors. I mean, in Destiny 1, I can go and check out what's for sale with the future War Cult vendor. There's actually a pretty decent Waltz pulse rifle with rangefinder and either Hammer Forge, I think, or Outlaw and high caliber rounds. Like, that's not even that bad. We've also actually got a Warpath rocket launcher with cluster bomb and field prep. Like, this was super desirable near the end of the game's lifespan because people discovered like how much damage you could do with a rocket plus cluster bomb. So like this would have been such hype within the community that they were actually selling this roll. I can check out Dead Orbit. Actually got another really good sniper rifle here with Hidden Hand, Mulligan, Quick Draw, and a short gaze sight. And funny enough, when I go and check New Monarchy, they've also got a really good sniper rifle roll with short gaze, snapshot sights, triple tap, and Firefly this time. It's the week of sniper rifles. If for whatever reason you want to hop back on Destiny 1, go and get those snipers. Like, honestly, they're all very, very good. But if we go to those faction vendors in Destiny 2, it's even more depressing. You can't even interact with them. Now, that is definitely because faction rallies as an entire event went away, and Bungie is working on reestablishing them to hopefully be better than ever. And that's okay. I don't want to disparage Bungie for doing that. You know, faction rallies were definitely not the best received, best planned out events. Often they were kind of boring. There wasn't enough going on. The rewards, some of them were actually quite good, and it's somewhat sad that we have this giant chunk of loot taken out of the game when faction rallies left. You know, we're missing a lot of potential loot and rolls here and loot sources when faction rallies left. So I really hope they do add them back at one point. But the entire point I'm trying to make is that if you go to Destiny 1, and this isn't just the game like right now, this was the game for years and years, you had these random rolls being sold by vendors, and they rotated again on a weekly basis, and every single week it made the game exciting. There was a reason to log on every single week. Because you don't have that same feature within Destiny 2, often when weekly reset happens, you don't have a reason to log in, especially if you got to max power level. If you're max power level and you got the exotics you want to get, powerfuls become completely useless. Like, you just do not need powerful rewards, but you always need god rolls. And yes, you can go on and farm the spare rations for hours and hours and hours and maybe have a chance to get an incredible god roll, but the vendor rolls was a nice reprieve from RNG, while still technically being RNG. I mean, the fact that it had just random rolls every week, it was basically like you got all of these weapons, and sometimes some of them would be good. It was just that the entire community shared in these same random rolls. And so if you were someone who just started the game, you did have the opportunity to go and get, like we saw with that 44 curtain call, a pretty decent PvP shotgun, and actually allow yourself to compete a little bit easier. It wasn't free, you still had to buy it, you had to go and grind the game to get enough currency to buy these weapons, but it honestly did give the newer players a much more reasonable stepping stone to get weapons that were great starter weapons and even potentially endgame competable weapons. With the palindrome hand cannon like that, when it was actual god rolls being sold, everyone, new players, veteran players, everyone logged on to get one of those, right? Like, it was an actual really good archetype of hand cannon, and it had some very good rolls. So downgrading the vendors so substantially in Destiny 2 has overall, I think, negatively impacted the game, and it's time to fix this, because the reason it was done is just an artifact from Destiny 2's launch. I mean, it's pretty obvious why the vendors aren't selling anything, because when D2 launched, you didn't have random rolls. You had static rolls. So of course Shaxx couldn't sell a ton of weapons, because then you'd buy every weapon and you'd be good to go for the rest of the game's history, right? Like, obviously that had to be removed. But now that random rolls are back in the game, and now that we have actually quite a few different, Vanguard and Crucible weapons, more are added every single season, you could start to add some of the older weapons, like, the nameless Midnight Scout Rifle for Vanguard. That's been in the game forever. It was a static rolled weapon, and it was given the ability to get random rolls. Why not have that as a rotating roll, like weekly for sale weapon with Zavala? And then, even though scout rifles aren't doing too hot right now, apparently they're going to be buffed. And if there is a phenomenal roll, then you can go and buy that. You don't just have to turn in tokens and hope for the best. I mean, it gets a little bit more serious when we talk about things like the outrageous Fortune grenade launcher for the Vanguard. That's a 150 grenade launcher, and it can roll with spike grenades. Now, it's not void, so it doesn't work as well with the tractor cannon, but it's actually a pretty nice backup. And if the Vanguard was selling that grenade launcher with spike grenades, like, the entire community, there'd be people saying, hey, get on the game, like, if you don't have a Swarm of the Raven, get this Fortune, get this grenade launcher. Like, it's actually capable of really good damage output in PvE. Like, this is a big deal in the game, in the community. So just with the weapons we have right now, some of the older ones, if they were instated as vendor for sale items, like, we'd already have some pretty great benefits and some potentially pretty great catches and pretty great gets and opportunities with the vendors we have right now. We don't need to add all these weapons. We can use what we have. So I would really like to see vendors improve to what they were in Destiny 1. It would spice up the game a lot more. It would give people reasons to log on. It would help with these downtimes like we're experiencing right now. It would give new players a better stepping stone onto better weapons, and it would somewhat eliminate the insane RNG of a loot-based game. Not all of it for sure, but if you're constantly chasing a good hand cannon roll, you might get lucky and the vendor just sells one. And there's nothing wrong with that. And so, if you agree, support the video. The better this does, the more likely we actually have of getting this changed. And I think with an upcoming brand new expansion like Shadowkeep, and then the 3 annual pass DLCs, those are just big additions of content. Those are great opportunities to be able to add a big change to vendors within the game too, right? So, again, I hope you enjoyed the video. found this discussion interesting. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickKackis. That's linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.